to our cousins in Oakdale, California. Viewer discretion is advised. We are about 18% of the way through the 2023 NBA season so far, and at this point you can begin to see how teams stack up. You have pretty good indicators as to who is a legitimate contender, who can make the play-in, and who is just flat-out garbage. I would go as far as to say at this point, wherever teams are currently seated now, unless a major injury or blockbuster trade happens, the team will likely move up or down about 4 seeds from their current position. Which means right now, the Milwaukee Bucks could fall from the 2 seed to the 6 seed at worst, but you can definitely determine that they will be in the playoffs and avoid the play-in. A team like the Denver Nuggets could go as high as the 1 seed if they get hot, but could drop down to as low as the 8th seed. Neither of these results would shock me. Which is why I find it so interesting that the Golden State Warriors, the defending NBA champions, are the 11th seed right now. If you stick to that 4 seed estimate, at best they could finish the 7th seed and make the play-in, and at worst they could completely miss the playoffs. I would be absolutely shocked if they finish in the top 6. It took them 9 games to finally win one on the road, something that hasn't happened since the 1990 season, before Michael Jordan had even won a ring. And even with this win, it took a heroic 41 from Klay and 33 and 15 from Steph just to beat the Rockets by 7. So what happened? I firmly believe that the kind of offseason you have determines how your regular season shapes up. If you don't hear any kind of drama, odds are you're going to have a solid season and finish up a top 6 seed in the conference. If you have a drama-riddled season that distracts the entire organization from the goal of winning a championship, odds are you're going to be sloppy, the team will have no cohesion, and you are doomed to fail. There are 3 teams specifically that had horrible off-seasons in 2022. The Boston Celtics, who had the scandal with Ime Udoka. The Brooklyn Nets, who, well, don't get me started on their issues. That's another video for another time. And then there's the Warriors, who decided to have their players take up boxing in some of their practices. Now, credit the Celtics. They are the exception here because they are gelling great. I thought that losing Ime Udoka, combined with the fact that half their team was in KD trade talks, would have ruined their chemistry. But give credit to the assistant coaches and the entire roster. They've won their last 9 games and don't seem to be slowing down. They will inevitably break my heart in the postseason, though, as they always do. I don't think I can overstate enough just how detrimental Draymond Green has been to the Golden State Warriors. His one act of violence has completely destroyed everything that they've built. And this isn't just me hating on Draymond. Look at the player stats from last year compared to this year. Aside from Steph, everyone is playing worse. You can't tell me that the most vocal, volatile player punching your second best player didn't shatter the team chemistry. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Jordan Poole is the second best player on that roster. Sorry, Klay, you still number 2 in the player hierarchy, but you just ain't that guy from the 2010s anymore. This is not an indictment on Klay. He has been nothing but a professional his entire career, and I believe he will still give you classic Game 6 Klay moments, as he did against the Rockets, but those just don't happen every night. And it would be one thing if Draymond was still the number 3 guy, but he may not even be 5th in the hierarchy. But Scott, Draymond is their vocal leader. He's the center of their defense. Not anymore. That's Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins gets more steals and blocks than Draymond. He's the guy you can pretty much stick on anyone, and he's going to give them a tough night. Now, you might counter that by saying Draymond has the same defensive win shares as Wiggins, and that he has a better defensive plus-minus than Wiggins. And to that I'd say, well, their defense still sucks. Last year, they had the number 1 rated defense that allowed only 105.5 points per game, 3rd best in the league. This year, they have the 24th rated defense with teams getting a whopping 117.3 points per game, 28th worst in the league. And it's not like they lost any key pieces from their championship series against Boston until now, minus Otto Porter Jr. and Gary Payton II. And while both are great defenders, let's not act like they were Defensive Player of the Year or anything. If the Warriors don't change something fast, they are going to continue to fall behind and will be lucky to make the final spot of the play-in. So what should they do? I'm probably going to catch some flack for saying this, but I think Jordan Poole should be starting over Klay Thompson. I think that this will help Poole get in a rhythm quicker and get his numbers back up to what they were last year. And I think this would help Klay as well. Look at what coming off the bench has done for Russell Westbrook. He looks like a rejuvenated version of himself. At this point in his career, Russ in small doses allows you to bring out the best version of Russ, a slashing playmaker who never stops hustling. Russ's three-point percentage is actually better than Klay's right now. So I think the same could go for Klay. We know Klay doesn't need the ball in his hands much to get his points. Frankly, he doesn't even need to dribble the ball. So imagine him coming off the bench and giving you that boost from three with his catch-and-shoot game. And I hate saying this, but Klay is just not the defensive player he used to be. Most of the time, he's a defensive liability now, and that's the sad fact. His defensive numbers are some of the worst in the league. But if he's coming off the bench, he will have fresher legs to be able to stay in front of his defender. Plus, if the opposing rotations match up, he will likely be guarding a guy from the second unit on the opposing team. The last change I would make is to get rid of Draymond Green. Draymond has cost this team at least 2 championships with his actions, and seeing as things have only gotten worse the longer he's been in the NBA, it is certain he will not change. Draymond is not a leader on this team anymore. I mean, how can he be? Draymond has proven that he is no longer worth the trouble he gives you. I don't even know who they should trade him for. I don't even know a team that really wants him. And if that's the case, I say send him home. Tell him not to show up. He's permanently benched. Credit Jordan Poole for being an incredible professional, but there is no way this hasn't affected him psychologically. He's second best talent-wise, but he's been treated like scum coming off the bench in a 30-point blowout. After he averaged 18 a game last year, I assumed he'd be getting at least 21 this year. And I think the reason he hasn't is because you can't have someone on your team who you despise and have zero chemistry with. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is totally my speculation with no proof whatsoever, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors organization purposefully leaked that video so that they would finally have an excuse to get rid of Draymond with no backlash. With Draymond gone, I think that loose, easygoing, chill Golden State vibe returns, and with that, their team chemistry and cohesion. And when that returns, so will the defense on the court and the defense of their title. Let us know your thoughts on the Warriors and what they should do. And as always, thanks guys.